Hi everybody, welcome back to another episode of Cooking Ain't Complicated. My name's Chef Saint. I want to thank you for joining me again today. Today we're celebrating our Labor Day weekend, 3-day weekend. So what we're going to do is a nice chili cook-off. Now I can't make chili simple, you know me. I got, instead of a ground beef, which you are absolutely free to use, I'm using a grass-fed ribeye. And I got some nice pork shoulder steak as well. We're going to marinate those two different ways so you get a different bit of flavor in every bite you take. We got our tomatoes, we got cheese, we got red kidney beans, some very lovely fragrant hatch chilies, garlic of course, 2 kinds of onion, big fat beer, and of course our fragrant chili powder. Can't have chili without that. So this is a 2-day shoot the way I make it, and the reason for that is we have to soak our beans prior to using them to get them soft. Also, I'm going to use that time to marinate our meat to get it nice and flavorful. You don't have to. You can marinate your meat in under an hour if you choose to do it that way. And if you go for canned beans, you don't have to soak them nearly as much. So this is just the way I choose to do it. Do whatever makes you happy, whatever moves you. But right now, we're going to get into our Labor Day chili. Stick around. All right, so here's the process. It's the night before we set our chili to simmering, but we got a few things to do before we can get some shut-eye. We are going to soak our beans and we're going to marinate our meat. Now to soak our beans, a lot of people soak them in water. That's just fine. What I'm going to do is take it a step further. A lot of people cook their chili with beer. So we're going to take that concept a step further. We're going to soak our beans in beer. This one's a nice Immortal IPA from Elysian Brewing in Seattle. Fantastic. So we're going to dump that into our beans here. Just like that. Yeah, save a little for yourself. All right. Now to that, we're going to add some of our chili powder. We want that chili powder to become a part of these beans. Same as we want the beer flavor to become a part of these beans. So we're gonna mix in about half a cup to 2/3 cup. Right about there. Very fragrant. Now, of course, the beer won't taste like beer anymore. That's a sad day, but it will serve its purpose. Just like that. And you see it's already got a murky reddish liquid, and that's what we're looking for. Now, the cool thing about that is whenever you're cooking chili, you may need to add liquid. Most people add stock or add water. What I'm going to do is if I need it, I'll just add beer with the chili into it. That way it doesn't dilute, it doesn't change the flavor. It's the same thing, stays on target. So, that's our beans done. Now, we're going to go very simple on the marinating process. I just got a couple of gallon Ziploc bags, one for each of our meats. So, I bought grass-fed ribeye from a local butcher. They have very nice steaks. I eat there all the time. We're just gonna cut those up into little cubes like that. Power that into a bag, and we're gonna season or marinate the beef with a sweet and spicy barbecue sauce. Just go ahead and glug that all right in there. You're not saving any for later. This isn't that kind of recipe. So, fantastic. A little bit of water to deglaze it, make the marinade a bit thinner. Since it is a barbecue sauce, it's not technically used for marination. So you want it a little bit thinner. So the water will help deglaze the bottle a little bit. And then we just kind of seal it up, get some of the air out of there. Work it around. Good to go. Now we're going to do the same thing with our pork shoulder. I cut the bone out, cut it into roughly the same size chunks. Dump that right in. And for this, I got an herb garlic marinade. So now the whole nature of what I'm trying to do here is to infuse both of the different meats with a different type of flavor. And what I hope that'll do is every time you take a bite and you get a different piece of meat on your tongue, it's gonna activate something different for you. Mingle differently with the different spices and hopefully play a little bit. That's the goal. You want it to be fun. So just give those a shake right like that. So, I'm gonna put these in the refrigerator. I'm gonna put this in the refrigerator, and we're just gonna let it soak overnight. The beans should be nice and soft by morning and ready to cook into a nice chili. I'm gonna go catch some shut-eye. I'll see you in the morning. We'll get making some chili. All right, so the chili beans, I have to admit to you guys something. I screwed up. I put them to soak in the refrigerator overnight. Think about that for a second, the refrigerator. So they didn't soften as well as I'd like, plus they sucked up almost all of the beer that I put in there. So, to make amends for that, I put 2 more beers in with them and left them on the counter all day, and I sort of simmered them a little bit in a pan to kind of further them along, but they are pretty good now. So, my bad. Never let it be said that Chef Saint doesn't accept his mistakes. All right, but we're moving on. Right now we're gonna start the tomatoes and the tomato sauce for the chili going right here. So, I've just got some diced tomatoes with green chilies, ironically enough. I chose to go with canned to simplify everything. You could certainly do your own tomatoes. Wouldn't hold it against you. I'm gonna dump those right in there. 4 cans. This is a 14.5 ounce can. Okay, I'm gonna dump all that in there. All of my cats have decided that now is the time they want to come into the kitchen, so hopefully they don't decide to wrangle any tripods. We're going to also pour in a 15-ounce can of tomato sauce. I bought the no salt added. I figure I'll be the one adding the salt to this recipe. Okay, to this mixture we're going to add a teaspoon of celery salt, tablespoon table salt, tablespoon of garlic powder, a teaspoon of thyme, teaspoon and a half roughly of thyme, dried thyme, tablespoon black pepper, save these 2 for last, and a tablespoon and a half of smoked paprika. Stir it all together. And we're going to start that going at about, I want to say a medium. Let's go 300 degrees and start there. We can adjust that as we need to. 320 degrees. Which is right around a high medium, if that does anything for you. Just want to get that starting to bubble. Now, we got oregano. I'm just going to start with a big fat healthy pinch. I didn't really measure that. About tablespoon and a half, if you're going to do it like that. This we're going to worry about later. This is chili powder. And in this regard, the star of chili. So we're going to add that as we need it, but the objective is to get most of that from this. This is the beer or what's left of it, that we soaked those beans in. So it's got the starch from the beans, it's got the beer, and it's also got all that lovely chili powder that we put in there to begin with. So when we need to add or take away from the chili, we're going to use this, so the flavor's already right on. We're not messing with the flavor. But before we can get to that, we need meat. I got a second burner. I'm going to get that going at about 400 degrees, so a pretty high temperature. We're going to take our pork first. We're going to take our pork first. Drain off all that excess marinating liquid. And we're going to brown that sucker off. Now I was thinking about doing it in the oven on a broiler or doing it on a grill, but I don't have a grill right now. So, the name of the game is cast iron, my friends, and cast iron has never let me down for getting color and flavor into food. So, we're going to brown that off, and then we'll move on from there. Alright, it's been about 20 minutes. I'm going to cut the heat down on this just a little bit more, down to 285 into the low-high range. Just because I don't want it burning. We want it to simmer. So we're going to let it simmer. And it's going to simmer for quite some time. So don't be alarmed. I said it wouldn't be complicated. I didn't say it wouldn't take a long time. Alright, while we're cooking off the meat, we've yet to cook the vegetables off. I'm going to add our beans to the mixture because that's going to bring a lot of that chili powder and beer taste along with it. Plus, we'll allow the beans to make sure they get nice and tender. After last night's debacle, we want to make sure that they're nice and tender and not crunchy little rocks. We're just going to work those in there. Let them meet their new surroundings. Get comfortable, take a dip. Alright, there we go. Alright, the pork is about 2/3 of the way cooked. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to bring it out of the pan onto my cutting board here. And the reason I did that is we're just going to put a little chop to this meat. It's a little big. Big meat. We're going to chop it all up. Family Guy jokes aside. We're going to lose a piece to the floor. That way the floor is happy. Never mind the fact that I just mopped that floor. Okay. We're going to put it back in the pan, the higher heat, so we can brown a little bit. Now that we got it chopped into manageable pieces and drained off some of that excess liquid. Man, that smells good. Is it wrong that chili's gonna kind of be my breakfast? Okay, now that we've got that, We're going to send that off to its chili home. We are not going to clean this pan. You want that. You want that fond to be left on the bottom of the pan, that little burnt scrapes and bits. We're going to add about a tablespoon of vegetable oil. And now comes one of my favorite parts. You knew where this was going. Garlic. Get in there. I can't cook a savory dish without garlic. Are you kidding me? Now it smells like Saint's Kitchen. Get some red onion. And we got some of those hatch chilies that I cut down. About the same size as the onion. I'm gonna hit that down with a tiny splash of balsamic, just a rich flavor there. Okay, we're going to introduce some of this here vegetable mixture into the party. And how much you add is really up to you. How the hell with it. I'm just going to add it all. Okay. And now, third thing to the saute is going to be our beef chunks that have been marinating in that sweet and spicy barbecue all night. Our ribeye steak that I bought. Like I said, man, go quality. You're the one that has to eat this. Alright, so now you can see it's getting a bit thick. We're going to bring it down a little bit with some of this chili beer, I should say. There's no water in there. It's like a chili gravy at this point. That's going to re-liquefy this and make it so it's not as pasty? That's not the right word. Bring it to the right consistency, basically. While not muddling the flavors, because we're using the beer and the chili powder that we've already used, so. And we're not going to further chop these steak chunks down. We're going to leave those ones fairly the same size that they are now. Just because I want there to be a differentiation in the meat. The pork will be the smaller bite, the beef will be the bigger bite. Either way, you're going to get both in, but it'll have a bit of a different texture, consistency, and flavor. Remember to taste as you go. Not a lot. You don't want to like be feed yourself, gorging on it, because it's not done yet. It's not ready. But you want to taste it to make sure all the elements are melding. See if you need to spice it up here or there. See, the beans are still a little bit harder than I'd like them to be, so that's fine. We're just going to keep stewing them till they're not. But the flavor of the broth and the vegetables together is amazing. Okay, now we have all of our elements in bed with each other, mingling, getting cozy, getting familiar, if you will. So now all that's left is the waiting. Like I said, Tom Petty, the waiting is the hardest part. But that's true in this case. This has to stew for a minimum of an hour. We want those beans to get softer. We want the flavors to meld. So we're gonna hit this off. We're gonna leave it at about a low simmer. Let's say 250 degrees. We're gonna leave that to simmer. And when we come back, fingers crossed, this is gonna be an amazing chili. Stick around. We'll wrap this up with some chili. All right, so now it's the moment we've all been waiting for, the moment I've been waiting for all day. We let this simmer for about an hour and a half. We checked on it at 10 to 15 minute increments to make sure it didn't burn to the bottom. And as it cooked, it'll get thicker and thicker, which is what it's supposed to do. So you just gotta keep making sure that it doesn't get settled on the bottom. So we did that. And now is the moment we've all been waiting for. Our chili. It's thick, absolutely meaty, delicious, lots of veggies. Look at that. It's a work of art. Your food is your art. I've been telling you guys that. So now we're just going to take a nice heaping ladle full here. This is my reward for cooking all day. One more. Why not? Delicious. Now I'm just going to set this off to the side. Carefully. Now, we've got our bowl of chili. I'm going to throw a little decoration on there, a little creative flair. I always tell you, eat with your eyes first. What's chili without some nice onion on top? So a little sprinkle of onion. So little pieces here. There we go. We're gonna throw some cheddar on top, my favorite. Both of these extraordinarily optional, as you well know. And I really enjoy saltines with my chili. It's just how I am, how I was raised, how I've always been. You can do cornbread, you can do soda bread, you can do whatever moves you. Some biscuits, whatever makes you happy. This is your food, this is your art. Make it however you want to make it. Enjoy it however you want to enjoy it. Now, a piece of cheese in your mouth because I like cheese. Here you have it. Chili con carne. Meat, beans, lots of vegetables, beer. Fantastically easy. A little lengthy, but I guarantee you it's worth the wait. I want to thank you guys for joining me for this Labor Day chili cook-off. Join me again next week, and we'll do it again. Same bad time, same bad channel. I'm Chef Saint. Remember what I always tell you. Cooking is your art. Eat your art.